up, everybody? Welcome back to the Grow Tent. This is where all the magic happens. This is my indoor grow tent where I grow all of my own produce aeroponically all year round.
This is the 20 by 10 Mylar grow tent equipped with 3 grow towers and 2 aeroponic Dutch bucket systems. I grow a variety of fruits and vegetables as well as flowers.
I've shared this journey with you all every step of the way since the day I started using this grow tent, and over the last couple of years I've gotten so many different questions. So today we are going to focus on the top 10 questions I get asked. Question 1. What kind of nutrients do you use and why? Since the beginning I've been using the Floranova series by General Hydroponics.
This is the only nutrients I've ever tried since growing aeroponically. I've used it for a total of 3 runs over the course of the last 2 years.
In terms of why I chose the Floranova line by General Hydroponics, General Hydroponics is a trustworthy brand that's been around for a long time. Their reviews are amazing, and I really wanted something organic. My main mission is to keep things synthetic and chemical free. That is why I ended up choosing the Floranova line, and while it is amazing, my plants love it and everything is thriving, I am having some challenges with my aeroponic Dutch bucket system. The lines are getting clogged, and I do implement High Clean into my routine. High Clean is a product by Hygrozyme. It is designed to keep your lines clean and free of buildup from your nutrients. However, I am still experiencing some challenges, which is why I'm considering making the switch to the Flora series by General Hydroponics. Question number 2. What grow medium do you use and why? Technically, the answer is no grow medium. When I first started this journey and I did my research, clay pebbles seem to be the most commonly used grow medium in aero or hydroponics. I used the clay pebbles for my first 2 runs and I didn't love them. I found that the roots weren't getting enough oxygen and the plants weren't as healthy as they could have been. Rather than using the clay pebbles, I decided to make the switch to neoprene cloning collars.
I use the neoprene foam collars in every one of my aeroponic systems. The foam collar sits comfortably in the net pot and holds the plant while the roots hang and get ample oxygen.
Ever since I've been using the foam collars as my grow medium, my plants are doing so much better, the roots are so much healthier, and everything is thriving. It's also a lot lower maintenance of a grow medium. Considering I'm using an aeroponic system, the debris from the clay pebbles was clogging my lines. But that's not an issue I have to deal with when using foam collars. I have 2-inch foam collars for the grow towers, 3-inch foam collars for the 4-site buckets, and 4-inch foam collars for the 1-site buckets. I've had such a great experience and success using the foam collars, I will never go back to another grow medium. Question number 3. How much water do you use and how do you acquire it? Since we're talking plants, my water consumption is really dependent on the plant's growth stage as well as how many systems I have operating at once. If I have all 3 grow towers and both bucket systems operating at once with fully mature plants, I probably use around 28 to 32 liters a day. And that's if all 3 towers are full. That's 80 plant quarts, and the buckets combined make a total of 100 quarts. So if all of those systems are full, I need water every single day to replenish my systems. At this point in my grow, I'm consuming approximately 16 to 20 liters of water a day, and that's for 2 towers that are currently in operation, both of which are approximately 75% full, and the buckets are approximately 70% full, so that is the daily water consumption to operate 4 of my systems at 75%. But of course, when my plants are in the seedling stage, they consume much less water. Since I started this journey, I've been using distilled water for all of my aeroponic systems, but my distiller's output is only 3 liters every 2.5 hours, and as my garden is expanding, I'm considering getting a reverse osmosis system.
The distiller I use is from Vivor. I fill it up every 3 hours just to make more water.
Question number 4, how long can you leave your tent for while you're in the middle of a grow, or can you go on vacation? That's a bit of a tough one to answer. Although everything in this grow tent is automated, it would be challenging to leave and make sure everything stays on track. I have left on vacation in the middle of a run for 6 days, and I did make sure my reservoirs were full before I left and my plants were fine when I got back. But That was before I started monitoring my environment and doing things right in this grow tent. So if I had to answer that question now, I would plan being away around my runs. I would not feel comfortable leaving things and setting it and forgetting it. Even though everything's automated at this point in the game, I would not want to leave.
One of the tools I use to automate things in the grow tent is the Globe Suite plug. It is a Bluetooth plug that connects to an app. I also use manual timers for certain plugs in the grow tent, and my pumps are also on timers that automate the watering.
So I guess my answer is yes, you can leave. I just wouldn't want to. In terms of the duration of your absence, that really depends on the plant's growth stage and how much water they consume and when they would need replenishment. I left for 6 days, and that felt like the maximum amount of time I could leave. Question number 5, how do you regulate your environment? If you've been following along, you know that I just started monitoring and attempting to regulate my environment, but prior to this, in my last couple of runs, I was not doing anything to regulate the environment. I was just using my 2 intake fans and my exhaust fan to move air around, but I wasn't doing anything additional. But since then, I've leveled up and gotten myself an environmental monitor. I use the Pulse Pro to monitor my environment, and I use several different tools to try to regulate it. The tent has 2 intake fans, 1 exhaust fan. I've got 3 oscillating fans as well as a dehumidifier.
My Pulse Pro hangs in the center of my grow where it monitors everything in both bucket systems. And I use my exhaust fan, my intake fans, my oscillating fans, as well as a dehumidifier to regulate the environment the best I can.
I'm still learning and battling a lot of outside factors and variables, so I'm not exactly regulating my environment at this moment in time, but I am doing my best and I'll eventually get there. Question number 6, how frequently does your bucket system leak and what are you doing to prevent it? When I first power up my bucket system after a reset, it takes quite a bit of time before it begins to leak. It usually starts to leak when the plants get into the flowering stage and get a bit more mature. But if you guys have been following along, right now my plants that are in the buckets are in the flowering stage, and I've got a leak that I'm dealing with pretty much every single day.
In order to properly fix this leak, I'm going to have to wait till the plants are ready to be removed from the bucket systems.
In terms of preventative measures, it depends on what the cause of the leak is. Right now, my buckets are experiencing leaks due to pressure changes from clogged lines. Avoiding organic fertilizer will prevent the clogged lines, which is causing the pressure changes resulting in my leak. But since I'm in the middle of a grow, I'm not doing much to prevent these leaks. I'm just cleaning the lines as I go. I'm optimistic that once I stop using organic fertilizer, I'll be able to avoid this problem. That's why it's so important to keep your lines clean in high pressure aeroponics, because any change in pressure can cause a leak. Question number 7, what happens if pests get into your tent? How do you manage this? Do you use IPM? I'm extremely careful when it comes to getting pests in the grow tent, only because I have had pests before. I have had thrips in this grow tent before, which was a huge pain to get rid of. I tried various insecticides and natural sprays to get rid of them, but unfortunately it resulted in an entire tent reset. Before entering the tent, I always make sure I've changed my clothes and I have not been outside recently. It is imperative that I do not bring anything into this grow tent. However, if I were to get a pest in this grow tent, the first course of action would be to spray everything down. I would use either Lost Coast Plant Therapy or Pure Crop 1 and give my plants a good spray every single day for about a week.
Both of these are great products to fend off pests and diseases.
I'd also put up a bunch of sticky traps in the grow tent.
I found that sticky traps are great for things like fungus gnats.
Question number 8, how much of your time do you invest in the garden? If I were to get a tower, how much time would I need to invest? If all systems are operating and the entire garden is full, I typically spend 3 hours a day on average in this grow tent. And typically that time is used for anything from mixing nutrients to pruning and defoliating to cleaning the grow tent to hand pollinating. There are a lot of things that need to get done depending on the growth stage, so anywhere from an hour to 3 hours a day.
Some of these are daily tasks that need to be repeated, while others are projects that last over the course of a few days.
But in terms of the grow tower, that is the least amount of maintenance out of anything in the grow tent. Since it's mainly used for lettuce and herbs, those are some pretty low maintenance plants. The tower just requires to be refilled when in early growth stages once a week and when in the later growth stages twice a week. In terms of daily maintenance, I spend maybe 5 minutes a day just making sure everything is on track in the grow tower. The grow tower can run for about 4 to 5 months before it needs to be reset.
Cleaning the tower after a run is quite simple. It involves taking apart all the layers and components and washing them thoroughly to make sure they're clean for the next run. I use soap and water to wash mine, and when I'm doing a full reset, I spray it down with bleach.
Taking the tower apart takes 1 hour, and depending on what kind of fertilizer you're using and how messy your tower has gotten, the cleanup itself can take approximately 2 to 4 hours. And once it's clean, the reassembly takes only an hour. Question number 9, what's the biggest challenge you face in your garden? The biggest challenge I'm facing right now in my garden is a new one, and it is keeping the environment checked. Things like my temperature, my humidity, my VPD, and making sure everything's on track for the current growth stage of my plants.
I'm frequently using my app to monitor the environment throughout the day.
Question number 10, what do you do in the event of a power outage? The entire tent's electrical is hooked up to 2 battery supply units. In the event of a power outage, I've got about 3 hours of battery that this tent can run off of.
The 2 battery packs are on either side of the grow tent where the power is distributed evenly between the both of them.
But if it's an extended period of time, I do have a small backup generator in the event of an emergency. That concludes today's Q&A video, but if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them in my next video. If you're into all things aeroponics, indoor gardening, growing your own food, or just good vibes in general, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, follow me to learn more.